Hello and welcome to The W. My name is Chris Armstrong and I'm your host. The Ox is a short documentary by Academy Award nominated director Ben Proudfoot. The film is a portrait of master woodworker Eric Hollenbeck. I'm joined by Dave Hataj, president and owner of Edgerton Gear Incorporated in Edgerton, Wisconsin, to talk about The Ox. Dave, thank you for joining me for this conversation.
Chris, it's great to be here. Thank you.
So when Eric's talking about these kids as fundamentally makers, you see in the film these kids who say, when I see something, I want to make something out of it. And it just feels like that's the image of God in them.
So from the very beginning, you're right, we read that God worked. The first job he gives Adam is to work and to name animals, to be creative, to manage the garden, right? Immediately we get this beautiful image that as God as a worker. And as we go through our Bible and our Old Testament, these stories keep popping up that I think our modern day theologians in our churches have often totally overlooked. Who is the first and only person in the entire Old Testament who is said to be filled with the Spirit of God?
Oh, it's a craftsman, right?
It's a craftsman, Bezalel,
Yes.
and his assistant, Oliab, right? And they're tasked with making the temple, which is a representation of God's glory. And then you fast forward to Jesus, the ultimate woodworker, and too often we call him just a carpenter. How in the world are we overlooking the crafts and the trades and the creative spirit that these students were made to live out and to express? And that to me is one of the great tragedies in our society, is that we don't recognize that God spark in every one of these students.
Well, I've heard you talk with real affection about the dynamics of that mentor-apprentice relationship, that's really important within your own shop. And I just wonder, is that a God thing too, the way that you see that unfold?
When I saw that part in the movie where Eric was talking about the students, that deeply resonated, simply because it spoke about redemption to me, and that connection to the students, and that sense of he's an older guy, and now he's passing on to the younger guys. That's a gift to him. He's finding healing in his own life by what he can give to these students. I see that in our own shop. When we get to this age, when we're in our 50s and 60s, we're asking those deep questions. Did my life amount to anything? Why am I here? What did I leave behind, if anything? And in our own shop, when we hook up students with these older guys, and this gift happens where they're able to bless the young guys, that's a blessing for them. They have this tremendous sense that they matter. Their life actually adds up to something that they can pass on to the next generation. The sense of that mentoring relationship, I think, really is biblical. In fact, I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
What were Jesus' last words?
Well, I mean, there's the Great Commission, right? Go and make disciples.
Right. Go and make disciples. So when I think about disciples, I think again about that mentoring relationship, where we're pouring into the next students. We're pouring in our wisdom that we've gained through a life of hard knocks. In Eric's case, all that woundedness that he had as a young guy in Vietnam, and those two Erics that he's been wrestling with his entire life. And he's seeking wholeness. That's what work is about for him. And so now he can finally pass that on to students. And I think all of us are seeking that sense of wholeness and healing. And ultimately, that word disciple, I look at as making apprentices. That now I'm a mentor and I can pass on. And that's a tremendous gift that we're able to give to the students, and the students give back to us.
So Eric ends the film by reflecting on these two kinds of work. And he says there's the kind of work where you shower before you go to work. There's the kind of work where you shower at the end of a long day when you come home. And he says both of them are essential.
That's another great point of the film, because I reflect on my own childhood. My dad would come home filthy, smelling of grease and oil in the shop. And I was kind of embarrassed about it growing up. And I know my own sons, because I stayed with the shop for 30 years, and they grew up through the shop. And there was a sense that they were embarrassed that their dad worked in a shop and he wasn't this white-collar professional. And so I really appreciate that aspect, because I've been reflecting a lot over my life, especially with my own sons. And the ironic part is one of my sons now works in the shop, right? But I reflect on who's really essential, what jobs are really needed in society. And I've been on both sides of the coin. I've been in the professional world, and I've come back and stayed in the trades world. And I've come to recognize that we're all essential.
Dave, I couldn't agree with you more. Dave Hataj, it's been fantastic to talk with you today.
Chris, it's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
And thank you for joining us for this conversation.